Hello everyone, my name is Yashaswini, currently pursuing BE in Sri Venkateshwara College of Engineering. In this video, we are going to learn about anatomy of a human heart from the subject biology for engineers. Content which I am going to cover in this video is introduction, anatomy of human heart, cardiac cycle, electrocardiograph, interesting facts about human heart. Coming to the introduction of human heart. The human heart is a vital organ responsible for pumping blood throughout the body, delivering oxygen and nutrients to cells and removing waste products. It is a muscular organ located in the chest cavity, slightly to the left of the midline between the lungs. On average, the human heart is about the size of a closed fist. In adults, it typically weighs between 250 to 350 grams. The heart size can vary depending on factors such as age, gender, and physical conditions. Human heart anatomy. As we know, heart has four chambers with two atria and two ventricles. The human heart is a fascinating and vital organ that plays a central role in the circulatory system. Here is an overview of the anatomy of the human heart. Pericardium. The heart is surrounded by a double-layered sac called the pericardium. The outer layer, the fibrous pericardium, is tough and protective, while the inner layer, the serous pericardium, contains a fluid that reduces the friction as the heart beats. Heart wall. The heart wall consists of three layers, namely epicardium, myocardium, and endocardium. Coming to the epicardium, which is the outer layer of the heart, and it is also known as an visceral pericardium, is a thin layer of connective tissue. Myocardium. The middle layer is the thickest and consists of cardiac muscle tissue. This is the layer that contracts and pumps blood. Endocardium. The innermost layer is a smooth lining of endothelial cells that covers the heart chambers and valves. Coming to the chambers. The heart is divided into four chambers with two atriums and two ventricles. Atrium. The two upper chambers of the heart are called the left atrium and right atrium. They receive blood returning to the heart from the body and lungs, respectively. Ventricles. The two lower chambers of the heart are called the left ventricle and the right ventricle. They pump blood out of the heart to the rest of the body and to the lungs. Walls. The heart has four walls that ensures one-way blood flow through the heart. Tricuspid wall, located between the right atrium and right ventricle. Pulmonary wall, found between the right ventricle and the pulmonary artery, which carries blood to the lungs. Bicuspid valve, positioned between the left atrium and right ventricle. Aortic valve, located between the left ventricle and the aorta, which distributes oxygenated blood to the rest of the body. Coming to the blood vessels. The heart is connected to a network of blood vessels that facilitates the flow of blood. The major blood vessels include vena cava, the superior vena cava, which brings deoxygenated blood from the upper body to the right atrium, while the inferior vena cava brings blood from the lower body to the right atrium. Pulmonary arteries, which carries deoxygenated blood from the right ventricle to the lungs. Pulmonary veins, which transports oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left atrium. Coming to the aorta, which is the largest artery in the body, originating from the left ventricle, distributes oxygenated blood to all parts of the body. Now we are going to see about the cardiac cycle. The cardiac cycle refers to the complete sequence of events that occur during one heartbeat. It involves the contraction and relaxation of heart chamber and the opening and closing of heart valves. The cardiac cycle can be divided into two main phases, that is diastole and systole. Coming to the diastole. Diastole is the relaxation phase of the cardiac cycle. It can be further divided into two subphases, that is early diastole and late diastole. Coming to the early diastole. After the heart has pumped blood out during the previous contraction, that is systole, the ventricles begin to relax. The atrioventricular valves, consisting of tricuspid and the bicuspid valves, open, allowing blood to flow from the atria to the ventricles. This phase is known as ventricular filling. Coming to the late diastole. As the ventricles continue to relax, they passively fill the blood from the atria. Towards the end of the diastole, the atria contract, completing the filling of the ventricles. This phase is called atrial systole or atrial contraction. Coming to the second phase of the cardiac cycle, that is systole. Systole is the contraction phase of the cardiac cycle. It can also be divided into two subphases. One is isovolumetric contraction and the second one is ventricular ejection. Coming to the isovolumetric contraction, the ventricles begin to contract, generating pressure. The AV walls close, preventing blood from flowing back into the atria. At this point, all four walls are closed and the volume of blood in the ventricles remain constant. Coming to the ventricular ejection. The pressure generated by ventricular contraction exceeds the pressure in the arteries. As a result, the semilunar walls open, allowing blood to be ejected from the ventricles into the pulmonary arteries and the aorta. This phase is known as a ventricular ejection. After the systole phase, the cardiac cycle returns to diastole and the process repeats. The duration of each phase of the cardiac cycle can vary depending on factors such as heartbeat, physical activity, and overall condition of the cardiovascular health. Now we will see about the electrocardiography, which is a diagnostic procedure used to record the electrical activity of the heart over a period of time. It is a non-invasive test that helps healthcare professionals to evaluate the heart's rhythm and detect any abnormalities in its electrical pattern. ECG is one of the most common and valuable tools for diagnosing various heart conditions. Now we will see how ECG works. During an ECG, small metal electrodes are attached to specific locations on the skin of the chest, arms, and legs. These electrodes detect and record the electrical signals generated by the heart as it contracts and relaxes. The electrodes are connected to an ECG machine and amplifies and records these signals, creating a graphical representation of the heart's electrical activity. ECG tracing. The ECG tracing, also known as the ECG waveform or ECG strip, has a graphical representation of the heart's electrical activity. It consists of several waves and segments. Coming to the P wave, which represents the depolarization, that is, contraction of the atria. It is the first upward deflection on the ECG. Coming to the QRS complex, which represents the depolarization of the ventricles. It consists of three parts, namely Q wave, R wave, and S wave. R wave is the tallest wave. The QRS complex is typically the most prominent feature of the ECG. Coming to the T wave, which represents the repolarization, that is, relaxation of the ventricles. It is a small upward deflection following the QRS complex. PIR interval, which represents the time it takes for the electrical impulse to travel from the atria to the ventricles. QT wave, which represents the time it takes for the ventricles to depolarize and then repolarize. Now we will see some interesting facts about human heart. Each day your heart beats 1 lakh times. Each minute your heart pumps 1.5 gallons of blood. Heart disease is the number one cause of death. A normal heart valve is about the size of half-dollar coin. The largest heart ever recorded belonged to a grey whale. A woman's heart beats slightly faster than the men's heart. This is all about the anatomy of the human heart. I hope the video was informative for you all. Thank you for watching.